All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Curtis Alexander. I am the president of the Winnebago Two-Spirit organization. And with me, I have, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Emmy Scott. I'm from the Winnebago tribe in Nebraska, and I'm the treasurer of Winnebago Two-Spirit.
All right. Today, we're going to speak with you about our organization in a presentation that we call Two Spirituality. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the gender binary that is the post-colonial. So right now we exist in a time period that only observes two genders, male and female. But prior to colonization, our 500 nations had different genders that each nation observed. And it could be 3 genders, or it could be up to 9 different genders. So the Two-Spirit had specific roles within their tribal communities. These could be medicine people, artists, prophets, warriors, leaders. They're oftentimes sacred and valued members of their tribe. Go ahead. The word itself is Two-Spirit is a pretty new term. It's not like a traditional term for a lot of different tribes. Each tribe has their own term, but the universal term that Native America observes now or uses is Two-Spirit. And before, the term was berdach, which is a French word, and it was kind of offensive to use it and to say. So it was not representative of the people. It was a term used by French colonizers to describe Two-Spirit individuals. In 1990, Dr. Myra Laramie, coined the term at a Native conference. I believe it was the 3rd annual Intertribal Native America. There they had a meeting between gay lesbians and came up with the term. Okay, for the Omaha or Ponca Osage, the male term that we would use to describe Two-Spirit is Mahuga, or the term is Mahug. Omaha, Ponca, Osage have a dual language. So men say words one way, women say words another way. This means instructed by the moon, or the moon gives you instructions. The Dakota, they say Winkti instead of Two-Spirit. Go ahead.
Oh. Okay. And I'm going to talk about the Winnebagos. Our Two-Spirits, or what would be called Two-Spirits, they were known as Beja Chowinga, and it translates to Blue Ocean Woman. And in this picture here, if you see in the back, there's 2 gentlemen, and in the middle, there's what you would think of as a man in a shawl, but it's a Te Chowinga, and they also have a woman's earring. And in Winnebago beliefs, if you went on a vision quest and you were blessed by the moon came to you and told you that this is you're supposed to take up the skirt and this is who you're supposed to be, then you would have to do that. And if people didn't do it, they felt like that something bad will happen to them, that death would come to them if they didn't follow their vision and what they were supposed to be. And these people, they were considered to be very holy people. In Ho-Chunk belief systems, left is female, right is male. The directions up is male and down is female. So they say that when you look into the water, when you stand in water, the directions are all reversed, and that's how the Chowinga were viewed, because their spirits were reversed, and that was considered especially holy, and that's why they're associated with water, and the word means blue ocean woman, because they were like water. And like we hold water, obviously, and that's like one of the most sacred things we have. And also, they were considered, they were artists, and they were medicine people, and they were prophets. They could tell the future, and people came to them for that. And they were known to be very good gamblers, very intelligent people. And that was prior to colonization. And today that we don't have those traditions. And a lot of that has to do with different periods of assimilation by the US government. And one of these was Indian boarding schools. They started in 1860. Colonel Richard Pratt, he had this idea after they attempted to genocide the Indians, and they realized they weren't successful in doing that, that maybe that it'd be good if we tried something else, assimilation. And the goal was to kill the Indian, save the man. It started in 1860. One of the first schools was a military, they set it up like a military school. And they took children, even babies, forcibly from their parents, and they transferred them to these schools, a lot of times thousands of miles away, so that their parents couldn't see them. And they were raised in these schools. And then later, they gave the responsibility to the Christian dominant denominations. So a lot of the different denominations, like Catholics, Protestants, all of them, they took on, they had their own boarding schools, and they were the ones that ran them. And if the children spoke their languages or practiced their religious practices, they were punished, brutally punished. There was a lot of sexual abuse that happened, and they cut their hair, and they were basically made to be not Native people. They were trying to create them into white people, and with that, there was a strict enforcement of a gender binary. You had to be men look like this. That's why they cut their hair, and women look like this, and they wore skirts, and they had to be this way. And that did a lot of damage to Native communities. And these schools lasted until, in their current form, at least until 1978. And they're still Indian boarding schools, but they were different. They weren't, they got rid of all the punishments, and it wasn't assimilation anymore. It was just schools for Native students, so it's different. And one of the schools is in Nebraska, is Genoa, and there was, on November 12th, 2021, researchers found that there was 102 names they found of students that died at these schools. And they're still looking for the bodies there. But recently, I just seen a news article that Curtis showed me of that the Nebraska state legislature just finally recognized Genoa and the atrocities that happened there. And my great grandmother went to the first Indian boarding school, which was Carlisle, and she also went to Genoa. And I know that she was a fluent speaker in Ho-Chunk, and she refused to teach any of it to us. And I feel like a lot of that is related to trauma, and that she was really afraid that we would get taken from her if we learned, and if we knew our ways in that way. Another issue that's ongoing today is missing and murdered Indigenous women. You might have heard about, but now it's also added Two-Spirit people, because especially people that identify as Two-Spirit, or especially trans people, or have really high rates of violence done against them, murders, and sexual violence. And this movement grew out of that the media doesn't report on this. Even the Department of Justice under reports like these crimes, the murders that occur when people know that there's like thousands and they only report like 100 or something like per year. But Indigenous women are murdered at a rate of 10 times the national average. Homicide's the third leading cause of death for Indigenous women. And there's not much statistics on Two-Spirit people right now, and that's part of the issue. The only one that I could find is that 85% of Two-Spirit people reported being sexually assaulted.
So going back to our organization, we are an Indigenous organization on the reservation, and that's one of the things that makes our organization unique in Native country. We are at home on the reservation with our people, saying that we need this representation. We are not in intercities off reservation. My role kind of started in 2019 when I won Miss Sioux City Supreme here in Sioux City. I was one of the very first Native American drag queens to hold a title in Sioux City. And I wanted that to be my platform to open up for Native Americans, other minority groups that are performers, to come and join me. And then I got involved with Siouxland Pride Alliance, and Karen kind of spurred it on for me to start promoting our Two-Spirit Pride in Winnebago. And I kind of didn't know what that meant. I still don't know what that means today. Like the visibility, we're here and we need to be represented properly. Go ahead. So with that, how do we become visible? How do we get to be represented properly? And one of the things that we have decided is that we are going to have monthly events for our community, for our youth, to come and hang out in a safe space, do some kind of culturally relevant activity. And with these images here, there's a bunch of kids standing around somebody in a Bigfoot costume. So storytelling and like the Bigfoot are parts of our modern day culture. And we wanted to invite creativity into some of our events. And we have we're gonna be having an annual Yes Squatch event. So it's Two-Spirit individuals who are interested in, Bigfoot storytelling, science and stuff like that, whatever goes into it. It's a pretty interesting and fun activity that we do. The other is like informing people that we have stories and words, and being Two-Spirit isn't just a modern day happening. There is a purpose, reason, and role for people who are Two-Spirit in our communities. And we had a cornhusk doll making activity with our youth and their families. So they can create a doll that represents them or that they want to play with. Go ahead. Oh, is that you?
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate is that, we're telling you a lot of this history, and I know sometimes a lot of feelings come out of that, and negative feelings of people, and they don't want to think about that and stuff. But the reality is that we talk about this because it's not just in the past. And like I was talking about missing and murdered Indigenous women and Two-Spirits, is that a lot of these there's these things they still impact us today, and and like in my family, they still impact what we know about our culture and beliefs and how even how we treat two spirits and how some people don't know about that anymore. You know, that some of the elders will say that we never had that in our culture, and because of that, you know, they're not not always treated with respect like they were in the past. And so a lot of what the work we're trying to do is to undo that and reclaim these traditions. And with that, we want to bring healing, and we want everybody to. And with healing, we have to, you know, we have to face the truth and come together and teach about it, learn about it, and see what, you know, your responsibility is what to do about it now and how to address that. And one of those is I just have some things that you can do to be an ally to two spirits and Native people. And I always say the first thing you can do is if you're having any kind of like event organization, maybe your work, and you're trying to do an event and about diversity or any kind of thing, you look around the table and you ask who isn't present and whose voice isn't being heard. And you ask them to come to the table and organize at the beginning, not at the end as like an afterthought, which often happens with like a lot of these events. And you can donate to or volunteer for local Two-Spirit orgs. Like we always have an event in June for Pride Month, or we started to. So we're probably looking for like volunteers and things for that. And there's also a new law there's a new bill that came forward. It's the U.S. Truth Commission on Indian Boarding Schools law. And they want that law would make it so that the government would investigate and take stories of people that were in the boarding schools or of their descendants and find out what really happened to them and try to get numbers, and so that we actually begin to like, you know, come to terms with what happened, so that we could that and it's taught in schools, and that we can so that we can that people can begin healing and begin moving forward. Follow Two-Spirit on social media if you know any, and boost their voices if you see them. And with that, also with history is supporting Native history in K-12 schools. And talking with, like, especially with local tribal nations, so that it's tribal specific, because Washington State and Montana State already do that. They have tribal sovereignty education, Native history education that's mandated in their schools, because 87% of state history books don't mention natives after 1900, and that Native erasure kind of contributes to invisibility of natives. That then it makes it seem like that we're in the past, we're stereotypes, and that kind of makes it people more able to do like violences toward us or ignore us and pretend like we don't matter, and these issues don't matter. It all kind of is a big cycle. So is that. Oh, and then we're putting up some of our contact information in case you have any questions after the fact, or want to get a hold of us in any way. Then we're always here. We're always we're always on our Facebook, so we know if you send us any messages, we'll be there. So Pina Gigi, I want to thank you for listening to us today.
And thank you, everybody. Be sure to donate. Our Venmo's on there. All right, thank you.